You're listening to Sit, Talk, and Listen podcast with your hosts, Payroll Rob and Zadie Bauer.
Yes. Hello. Zavy, we are here. It is Sit, Talk, and Listen, episode 13, lucky number 13. Today is July 17th, 2024. It has been 8 days or so since our last podcast, since we last kissed. And I guess...
Hold on, before we get to...
I don't know that anything really important has happened, so I don't know really what the lead's going to be. I guess I'll defer. I'll let you decide, Zadie. What's the lead?
I was going to say, there's no obvious lead. Real quick, before we get to
some honorable mentions.
Yes, 2 weeks ago, my dad went to Cleveland.
Bill Winterbar.
And on the way to and fro... He had not yet listened to an episode of this podcast, but afterwards he had listened to all 11 at the time.
Wow.
So that
Let's give it
that
up.
means a lot. We wanted a big shout out to him. And I didn't mention anything last episode. We were covering a lot of things, but I really do thank you, Dad. Thanks for, putting, over 12 hours of listening to two buffoons talk. Mm-hmm. That
red ass out and everything.
Yeah, you could have baboons. Yeah, you could have listened to Metallica, Black Sabbath, Tool, anything, but you listen to us, so thank you.
Mm-hmm. If anybody else decides to binge this podcast and they've made it this far without stopping, please let us know. We will give you the shout out on the next episode. And so to all of our dedicated fans, and especially Bill, thank you guys. Yeah,
and that basically covers every big thing that's happened the past week and a half.
Yeah, so I guess we could probably just wrap it up, put a bow on it.
Yeah,
and, we'll get home a little early. Go hang out with the kids. Yeah, I think this is about the best we could do. It's July. There's the All-Star break going on for baseball, so there's nothing really going on there.
Yeah, so if you're within earshot of this podcast, sorry we don't really have a lot to offer this week.
Just nothing really important happened. What can I say? No biggest store. Well, I don't know. There was maybe that.
Oh my God!
There was one thing.
Teoscar Hernandez won the MLB Home Run Derby.
That was it. That was the thing.
Teoscar, dude, congratulations. He was not one of the favorites. So
now, while we're talking about the All-Star Game, Major League Baseball, maybe it's a little bit lesser of a known thing, a little footnote probably, right? So we'll take it back from the All-Star Game to the Home Run Derby, right? That goes on a little bit before the All-Star Game, usually the day before. For those that aren't familiar, the MLB Home Run Derby was Monday night, and they had a country singer doing the national anthem. I guess she was 4-time Grammy nominated.
Ingrid.
Yeah. Ingrid Andres. So she comes up to sing the national anthem, and it was not good. Davey, what do you think? Just not good.
So I watched this live. Me and my brother, a few people were over at our house, and we happened to be watching the national anthem.
Which, by the way, before you continue, color me shocked. I told you that day I couldn't believe you were getting together for the Home Run Derby. I didn't realize that there was people that enjoyed it that much. But anyway,
people still do.
Yeah. So good. Kudos to you guys for being in on the Home Run Derby, because
it's still really cool. It's one of those things that, unlike the dunk competition and anything like that in any of these other sports, the Home Run Derby, I think, is the best skills competition going on in pro sports.
Even though they're getting lobbed balls that are meant to be knocked out of the park. Obviously, I'm not.
It's fun.
It's still impressive to see a lot of home runs. Obviously.
Yeah. A lot of balls meant to get hit out of the park, but it gets really tiring over a while. Who can sustain the most? You're 1 centimeter off can be a difference between a line drive and a ball going over the wall.
I agree. It takes a lot of skill. So anyway, to pulling back from that. That was a distraction. Continue about the Ingrid.
So we were watching live, kind of talking, and then we just started hearing how poorly this was. Like, we were all like,
oh my God.
Started to laugh. Like, we're like, is this like real? I honestly said during this, I was like, I really feel like this is a prank right now.
Yeah.
And then immediately afterwards, I was like, we have to get on Twitter. And it was, you know those moments. If you're watching something live, there's events that happen where you're like, we got to rush to Twitter.
So the rest of the world's got to see this.
Just a search. And right away, when I got on Twitter, I mean, I didn't even have to search it. It was like the first 3 things that I saw were like, oh my gosh, like what just happened?
It was not good. And I don't, so, okay, she did it. She sang it. It was awful. Everybody comes out online and was sharing it all night, Monday night. And then this girl comes out yesterday and shares a tweet or whatever. And she's like, oh my God, I was drunk. I'm going to rehab. That's essentially what the tweet said. Did you see her tweet?
She did. She was like, I heard it was really fun, sarcastically, but
I mean, that was her tone of the message. Was essentially like, okay, I'm sorry, I'm a drunk, I'm gonna go to rehab. It didn't seem
from things I was reading.
I don't know, man. I just don't.
It seems like she's kind of a nepo baby. I think her dad is a baseball coach himself, which is probably what led her to this gig. I don't know if she's ever had to face real serious consequence for. I mean, literally, you should. But even then, though, even if you are a nepo baby, you should be severely embarrassed.
Yeah,
not joking about going to rehab if that's true or not.
I just think that it's such a PR move. I don't think that she cares. I think that it was like her manager or somebody got a hold of her and was like, "Okay, this is bad. Tell everybody that you were drunk and that's why you sucked, and that you're gonna go to rehab." And we'll say that it's gonna all be better then, right? That's what they do. They said, "Oh, I'm gonna go to rehab. Everything will be fine." So it just feels like a PR move to me to like try to save her ass.
But I mean, PR move or not, like how are you not ashamed? How do you not? If your profession, which obviously she's a 4-time Grammy nominee, don't know how, but if that is your profession and you're given a stage like the Home Run Derby, which contrary to your belief is still a pretty big deal, and that is the display that you give. You should be so ashamed.
Yeah, and like there was not a single word about like, I'm sorry, I guess. And I don't know that you need to be sorry, but like
no, she should be.
It was to me like, okay. So let me read the tweet verbatim here. It says, "I'm not gonna bullshit, y'all. I was drunk last night. I'm checking myself into a facility today to get the help that I need. That was not me last night. I apologize to MLB, all the fans, and this country I love so much for that rendition. I'll let y'all know how rehab is. I hear it's super fun." Like, maybe cut off that last sentence, and it's a little bit more.
Cut off all it. I really hate.
Cut it all off.
No, I seriously hate this in any humans. Like when you do something that you're not a fan of. That still is you. You did that. People, that's a good time to bring this up because...
Yeah, I mean, this could... Go ahead, because this can go down a whole...
Because people do that all the time. If you do something that's a piece of shit move, that's a part of you. In that moment, that was you. So I hate when you do something that you're ashamed that you done, you can't just sweep it under the rug by saying, that's not me. That clearly was you. Like, imagine
she says, I was drunk. That was
shooting
not
somebody.
Me.
Go rob a bank, shoot the bank teller, and tell a judge... I was desperate for money to feed my family, and that was not me in that moment. Oh, you guys, can you believe this? He said it wasn't him. You can't just... That was you.
Yeah.
That was Ingrid getting fucked up.
Yeah, apparently. Like, she didn't seem messed up. She didn't seem fucked up while she was singing. I mean, everybody can hold it together. I guess she had to be to not hear it, but... You don't have to be a talented musician to know you're struggling to hit some pitches. You're missing these.
I haven't heard this, and I guess I wish I'll do some research on this and listen to her other live performances.
Yeah,
but from the sounds of it, she's had past live performances that weren't terrible.
I'm sure
a bunch of people are going from this and saying she must have the best producers in the world and all that shit.
Well, I mean, there's a reality to that. People have been able to fake their way in the music business for good part of 20 years, if not more, So no surprise there.
What are your thoughts on just her saying that's not me? Or what I have to say,
Yeah, I agree with your general take in that regard. Like if somebody's apologizing and then they're like, that's not me. No. Leave that out because it was you. You did that. That's how you acted. If you're trying to say, here's a reason for how I acted, that's okay. But then to add that it's not me aspect of it.
I feel like that's big in relationships when you're apologizing.
Oh, yeah.
I'm sorry, that wasn't me.
Sorry, I wasn't. That's not how I usually am.
Yeah, well, I wasn't being myself.
Yeah,
you are. That's a part of you. That's 100% what you're doing.
Yeah.
You weren't being your best self.
Yeah. So on that same actual kind of thread of people issuing apologies, did you hear about Tenacious D in Australia?
Well,
on Sunday.
Yeah, but hold on. We have to talk about what led to that before we can't.
What led to that?
Trump was shot.
Yeah. Oh, whoa.
Donald
gosh.
Trump was shot.
How did we miss that lead? Oh, man.
There's more important topics.
I'm embarrassed. So, yeah, okay.
Because he's fine.
Former President Trump was, survived an attempted assassination attempt. And
holy shit.
And here we are. Like, everybody just acts like, oh, just another day. No, that's not another day. I mean,
we jokingly talked about this third because, he's fine now and everything. Yeah. But make no mistake,
obviously everybody knows it's a big deal.
This, in my opinion, is the biggest event that's happened since we've started recording the podcast.
Yes, no, JK. It's a big deal, and I think that's part of the problem is that people need to realize of how big of a deal it actually is when you look at the scope of history and any time that there's been an assassination attempt on a president or a former president, that's always been a major deal. And why are people minimalizing this? Like it's that shit really happened. We need to take it serious.
Well, and here's the thing too. What's crazy, first of all, a lot of people saying it was an inside job. If you watch the video, and now it's been out and it shows the trajectory and stuff of that, he turned his head at the most opportune time.
Yeah.
Like, dude, there's not fake. There's video of that.
No,
so to say that Trump had anything to do with this is fucking crazy.
No, you're really not actually thinking critically if you believe that. Like, I understand people's, their idea of like, well, anything is possible. I wouldn't put it past him to fake this kind of thing for, people say that. But if you actually take any time, if you actually take a few seconds to really think it through, like what it would take for something like that to possibly be faked, the logistics of it just don't make sense. It obviously was legit. That was a real attempt. That was, some kid got a crazy idea and somehow managed to make it all the way to the point where he was able to get a free shot off.
Well, hold on. That's important too. Yeah. Somehow, dude, there is so many videos coming out. There's there's audience members seeing this kid scale the wall. They're pointing them out to the cops there. Now, from my understanding, the local authorities had too much of the responsibility of this and not the fucking Secret Service, which is crazy. No, especially for a polarizing figure like Donald Trump speaking, and you're just gonna have let some kid climb up on a wall. What was it, 200 feet away? Not 200 yards, 200 feet.
Something like.
And nobody goes and checks. And then the guy that ended up shooting him, he had his gun. He had already spotted this dude. He was like, "What was he fucking waiting for?" Like, I don't understand how this happened.
That's gonna be the question, right? Like, It's going to be the question. It's not like this is the first and only time the Secret Service has ever failed. Like, obviously, there's been failures in the past.
But how, though?
But just think of all the logistics and all the rallies and all the things that Secret Service is done and has gone through incident-free.
Okay.
Like, so they've gone through so many incident-free, just like any job. People can get comfortable, and when people get comfortable, they get a little bit lazy and a little bit lax.
But there's certain
and
jobs
corners
where
get
you
cut.
can never, imagine a pilot. He crashed a plane, but think about all the safe flights he had before.
I'm not saying it's right. I'm just trying to tell you of how. You said how it happened. I'm just letting you know these are the possibilities of how. Like when they do so many rallies, they do so many public appearances, they're like, all right, everything's normal, everything's secure as it has been. You know, we've done this 100 times. Everything's good. It's like I said, not forgiving, not trying to give them any reason here. I'm just saying that, like, that kind of stuff, as we see, happens. I mean, human error is human error, and when people get complacent with, procedures and stuff, then it becomes lax. It's the same way like somebody that's on a construction site. That guy that's been doing the job for 30 years is more likely to get hurt than the person that's been doing it for a year, because the person that's been doing it for that shorter amount of time is more likely to go through like that mental checklist of like, okay, make sure this, make sure that, make sure this. But the person that's been doing it for 30 years, a really long time, they don't go through that checklist anymore because they're just so used to it, right? They're like, oh, I've done this so many times. Once again, not saying at all that like that excuses anybody, because it doesn't. You asked how, and I'm just saying that that's how, when people become complacent in anything.
But I hear that. But I think there's certain jobs. I mean, there's definitely jobs that you have to be locked in every single time because, carpentry, construction, whatever, maybe. Like, yeah, definitely there could be some pretty drastic implications of you not paying attention and slipping. But, there's been world wars started over assassination. So, the butterfly effect of this guy, he's been doing a great job for 25 years, this group of people. Well, in another world, now over 2 million deaths happen because Trump was shot right in his fucking head. And who knows what that leads to, especially in the climate of how divided, and this is what I keep harping on. This is why, and I don't know if I want to get into this really deep, but...
No, let's grab the shovel, dig, we'll see. Who knows?
I know you have a different take, and Kyle Gass certainly does, but...
Look, I don't...
And I know that Donald Trump has also... perpetuated some of this division that because I think it's both parties. But I mean, is this what you want? Is this what America wants? All these people who hate and loathe Donald Trump, and all these people who are flying Donald Trump's flags. Is this what they want? An end goal? Do they want everybody to just kill each other? Does the left and right just want to go to a huge civil war where the last American Civil War had more American deaths than any war in history?
Yes.
And from my perspective, that's all I can see. All I can see is that's what people want in this world. Because there's two sides that hate each other to no end, and I'm like, well, that is what they want. They don't want any resolution. Yeah. They want to talk about how fucking innate Joe Biden is at his job, how Donald Trump is the next Adolf Hitler, but nobody's offering any solutions. It's
right.
Hate. Listen to me. Listen to why you're wrong. I mean, it's cultish on both sides, and
yeah.
I don't know if that bullet goes 2 inches to the left. If there wasn't another fucking civil war that breaks out,
yeah.
And I'm going to tell you,
I mean, it could. Yeah. We don't know. We don't know the motivations for this guy. We don't know.
He was a Republican.
That's what's being reported so far, I believe. Right. That this kid, by all accounts, was a Republican, was a conservative. So if that's the case, what's the motivation? Is his motivation thinking, oh, if Trump's assassinated, it might spark this war? Is that what he was trying to do? Was maybe incite that infighting, that civil war?
He was close, dude.
That's what I'm saying. So, like, is that how, maybe poor choice of words, but unhinged the fringes of both sides could be? Is they're willing to kill somebody that's like the leader of their party to just incite violence? Do we think is that what could be happening? Like, they're just so on edge and itching to be violent? I don't know. I'm
Which
just
is
asking.
how fucking stupid Kyle Gass from Tenacious D is. Like,
Yeah. So okay, I touched
get
on
it.
it to bring us into this segment. Let's talk about it for a minute. So Sunday in Australia in Sydney, Tenacious D was playing a show, and Tenacious D. I love Tenacious D. I'm a fan of the band. Love Kyle
As do
Gass.
I.
Love Tenacious
Well,
D. Love Jack Black.
I love their music.
But I can recognize a poor moment of judgment, and that was a poor moment of judgment that I'm about to explain. So Sunday at the show, during any Tenacious D show, there's always little skits and bits that they've worked into the show. And so during one of their skits and bits, Jack Black asks Kyle, he says, no, listen, I'm trying to talk here. Kyle responded to Jack Black asking, Kyle, if you could have one wish, what would your wish be? And then Kyle says, I wish they didn't miss Trump. It's like,
well, that's
that
why I
was
did
how
interrupt
quick.
you, because you misrepresented what was happening. It was Kyle Gass's birthday. They brought him out a birthday cake, and he was blowing the candles out on said cake.
I watched the clip. Jack Black says, if you could have one wish, what would your wish be? And he says that they didn't miss Trump. I mean, he might have been blowing it out, but I'm saying that he was prompted by being asked, what would your wish be?
Yeah, because he was making a birthday wish, blowing out a birthday.
Yeah, it's a skit that they've done before in the past. It's always a different answer what your wish would be. Kyle Gass, very poor timing, very poor read, very poor feel on the environment. Like, it's comedy. He thinks comedic timing. This will get a little chuckle.
I think he's serious. I mean, Jack Black is pretty open about his hatred for Trump, and I think Jack Black kind of threw Kyle Gass under the bus because he seemed to think it was fucking funny in the moment. So,
well, they both
kind
had
of really made me
statements.
lose respect for Jack Black, like not to ride down.
Well, what's he supposed to do? He was unexpected in the moment. He wasn't expecting him to say that. So you just are like, haha, let's laugh it off and continue with the show. You're not going to stop and be like, whoa, Kyle, let's address that for a second. Let's stop and talk about politics in the middle of our concert.
Well, Jack Black has no problem giving his political opinions before that.
It's a time and place thing. He had a better read on it to be like, let's just try to skirt right by this and not dwell on it.
I just think that it doesn't take much of a brain to realize that if Trump was shot, the implications aren't just a guy that you dislike is now dead. That's one thing. But you have to realize there's a lot of people that like freaking, trust me, I think it's crazy, but flying this man's flag, and these are the same people that are probably having AR-15s all inside their house. The same people that are crazy for Trump. Dude, they're armed to the teeth. And you think that him getting shot in the head would just end right there? You think, oh, Trump's dead? I mean, come on. How stupid do you have to be? Now, I know I'm getting pretty,
no. And I don't think
worked up here, but
I don't think that that's what they thought. I just, like I said, it was, to me, seemed like obvious, just real poor judgment and timing. Like they were in the moment. He thought, oh, this could be a funny way to respond.
But I think that Kyle Gass does represent a large group of people who wish that bullet would have hit.
Large is a funny word. Like, what's a large group of people? We're talking percentages. I bet it's less than 25% of the country.
Like, even if you hate Trump, don't you think that you
would you agree or disagree about my less than 25%?
25%. That's a very big portion of a country, though.
Well, I'm saying it's less than 25%. You said large. I'm trying to put my finger on what large
millions
is.
Of people wish that would have hit.
So what are we talking? Are we talking 1% of people? That'd be 3 million people out of 300 million people.
Yeah, but that's still pretty big and concerning. Just like January 6th was maybe.
How many people wished Obama was dead?
Yeah, but nothing like that happened.
If it would have, I'm just saying. Let's just look at it. Flip a script again. If that happened,
I think that'd be less drastic.
What do you mean less drastic?
Because of how divisive this country has been, pro-Trump, anti-Trump. Like, yeah, people hated Barack Obama.
You're going to tell me that in 2008, height of Obamacare, if an assassin attempt would have taken and hit Obama's ear, that there wouldn't have been a large number of people on the conservative side say, I wish it would have got him.
I do. But
so is that not just as concerning?
That's the side, though. They're on the opposite end of this one.
They're on the opposite end of this one. What do you mean?
The conservatives now are the ones that would be like defending their their
Well, yeah,
savior.
just because of who it is. I'm sure. I'm just trying to say,
That's why
like,
I said I think it's more dangerous because you have a lot of crazy gun-toting Trump supporters.
Oh, so did I just hear you think that the conservatives might be more dangerous?
In that sense, but
Yeah, if
I think that, but I
if
do
they
think
feel
that
like they've been wronged, they will do something about it.
Yeah, and I still think that the divisiveness of this country is the most dangerous.
It is.
Not a certain side.
It's the divisiveness.
And I won't go any further on this podcast and on a political take than that.
It's not a political
podcast. I
podcast.
cannot make it more clear that I do not stand with either fucking side. I think it's sad and sick.
I definitely
that
don't
people
stand
are
with
so
the side.
shallow that you cannot have an open mind and see from both sides. And that is where we stand, and that's where I stand on it.
Yeah.
I will not ever take a side because I think what this country has become is an embarrassment. Matter of fact, I think the national anthem the MLB The Show girl did was a good representation of how this country is.
I said, you know what? She did a good job completely encapsulating the piece of shit that we are right now.
I mean, why don't we all just fucking take a minute and realize that hatred has never done anything but lead to violence, war.
Yes.
It's definitely going to create a bigger gap in the haves and the have-nots. That's all it's ever done.
War does, yeah, 100%.
Yeah. So
what it isn't good for. No, it's absolutely nothing.
So
I'm with you. I'm not affiliated. I'm not interested in being affiliated. I guess I'd say that I'm like slightly left to center because I don't care for conservative views. You know, most times in empires throughout history, if you've seen the conservative views, when the conservative views start to be the majority, the empires tend to collapse because they don't move forward. They're too concerned about trying to bring back the past. You know, that's the whole point of conservatism, right? They want to, conserve the way that has been known to be the best way of living. They're not willing to move forward. So that's what gives me, concern. But if I'm looking at both sides, like liberalism in general is better. Like let people make their choices and move forward. And this is like totally just like a blanket statement. Obviously, I'm not talking about any particular parties. I just saying liberalism and openness is in general the better policy. Let people make their choices. If they'll figure out if their choices are bad. Don't force people to be your old school, whatever, conservative ways. They're talking about only families that have kids and are married with a husband and a wife are going to be recognized as families and all this kind of stuff. That's just, what are we doing? It's not helpful. But also, I don't know. I don't know anything in that regard, I guess.
This is definitely clearly becoming pretty political here.
Well, whatever. We have to. You know what? Things happen. It's big news. It's happening in this country. We can't just sidestep it.
Yeah, I just don't know about the recognition of families have anything to do with the assassination attempt.
No, it doesn't. It was just my general talk of conservatism and then, what their views of the world that they believe that everybody else should have. Because here's what's also a little scary. Like,
well, you could argue the same thing with progressives. They want their beliefs to be had.
Yeah. Okay. Sure. The far sides of progressive and the far sides of conservative.
I do think both sides
believe
have
that the people need to have their views, and if they don't have their views, then they're wrong. Yada yada yada. I see what you're saying, and that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is nobody should be forced to have anybody's views. If you want to be conservative, good, but that doesn't mean everybody needs to be. If you want to be liberal and you want to be progressive or whatever you say, good. That doesn't mean everybody has to be.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying is why. Look, I already made my views clear in the dangers that I think the Conservative Party represents. But my concern with the other one, since you asked if I think they're dangerous, I think it's they're pretty hypocritical. They want people to be progressive in their beliefs until it goes against something that they want. Then they want it to regress. They want you to believe and progress as long as you're progressing with their ideals. That's hypocrisy.
That's been government for a long time.
It's a lot of hypocrisy on the liberal side, and the conservative side is it's a lot more closed-minded and a lot more threatening, and I do think they pose a great threat. I mean, there's I don't want to get too, again, I really can't stand, I don't think that you should have a strong stance on either side, and that's not, I see, like I'm out on a route today, I'm back at FedEx,
whoop, whoop. Making them rounds.
And I see, it says Ultra Mega. And I'm like, what does that even mean?
Just in case.
Ultra Make America Great Again? Like, that doesn't even make sense. Ultra Mega.
I want to make sure you know that
and
I'm
when
not
I see
just
stuff like that, I'm like, I mean, what are we doing?
Yeah, I think
we started rooting for... Sorry, but we just started rooting for politicians like they're sports teams.
Yeah. I think that's part of the thing that gives me pause and concern is that we're seeing people like deify this guy. Like they're you hear words thrown around like cult leader and this and that, but like legitimately we're seeing it at the Republican National Convention. There's people on their knees like praying to Trump. Like, we're talking about what people do at church for our God. They're acting like he's a God, and that's scary. That's scary and concerning because nobody should be acting that way towards another person. It's just, it's not right. It's not right. You know what I mean? So that gives me pause. And then the other thing that gives me, a bit of concern is the way that the Republican Party has kind of molded itself into the party of God. Oh, we're the party of God in the church, and we believe in no abortions, and we're going to stand with the Christians and So there's all these folks that are on the ultra-conservative party that believe they're the party of God, and that is dangerous. I mean, you see throughout history, anytime there's been a group of people that believed that their actions were acting in accordance with God's will, it's led to death, right? We're talking about the Crusades. We're talking about, wars in the Middle East that have been going on for thousands of years because people believed they were acting with the will of God. So now with the conservative party, advertising themselves as the party of God, essentially, and you have what's his face from Missouri that believes in Christian nationalism. How do you like that? Holloway, is that his name? Josh Holloway?
I don't know. I don't really like this.
We're done now.
Well, I mean, we could keep talking about it. I certainly think that this exact talk and you're trying to frame a certain point of view, and you're doing exactly what I think is what I don't really stand for, and that's causing division and blaming one side or the other. Which is,
I'm just pointing out the historical context here.
Yeah, but historically speaking, war is caused by religion, yes, one, and money and greed. So we're going to take away money too. Because a lot of people do a lot of selfish shit that would take out both political parties there.
Oh, yeah.
We don't have a government, and like if that's
that's been my vote. I say we go presidentless for 4 years.
You're going after one side when my whole thing is it takes two. It takes two sides, opposing sides for war.
Once again, this going after. What's going after by me pointing out the context of them facing themselves as the party of religion and God. And then the historical context of what has happened when people have acted like they're God's mouthpiece. That's all I'm doing. I'm not trying to sit here and say these guys are terrible because of this and these guys aren't terrible. They're both fucking terrible. That's easy to agree with. What I'm saying is concerning, and what gives me worry is that there's so many people that believe that they're acting in God's will by being ultra mega, according to that sign.
Well, that's hypocritical. And you're not, if the God or whatever you believe in is what you're claiming to be, then that's just fucking stupid. And I can't agree with. I mean, you know, I don't think that there's a God, whatever religion you are, that's preaching hatred, murder, and all of these things. Now, that's hypocritical, and I do think in those instances that you're speaking of, these are people that are not following the path that they think they are. They've convinced themselves of something to fulfill their own manifesto.
Yeah.
Like,
they've reasoned it to themselves of we do this in accordance with God's will. I don't know.
And that's stupid.
And it's
I can't agree with you 100%. It's stupid. But what I do know and why I often freeze up when it comes to these topics is because I know the people that do feel that and don't agree with me feel passionately about that. And I don't, like, I'm not saying I disagree with you. Quite frankly, I agree with a lot that you're saying. I guess I just know that people have such strong beliefs in either way that I don't want to cause or contribute because I just don't think it's good for the greater good.
No, and
I agree with a lot of things you're saying.
And I'm not here to disparage anybody's beliefs, really. I'm just here to have a conversation and to look at both, to look at the sides of the fence and to look at it. All I'm saying is when you start to, radicalize religion, it just becomes a little bit more serious, I guess, is all I'm saying. So I don't know. We could pivot away from Trump,
man, and I'm
the
sorry. I think just like you,
assassination.
like I get pretty worked up and passionate about this, which is why I don't really like, I don't know. I feel like I want this to be kind of a place where it can be loose and fun and stuff, which why we pivoted away the kind of talk we were in the first episode.
Pivot!
But, this was a big event that happened. I think it's pretty polarizing, so I don't think there's going to be anything that we both say that everybody is going to agree with.
I'm not looking for anybody to agree with me. I'm just
me
trying
either,
to talk
but,
about it. Full circle here. At the end of the day, the problem is also the fact that something like this happens and you can't go and find an unbiased write-up, right? Like you can't find an unbiased article explaining the actual facts of the situation. The facts are disputed. Nobody can agree on facts these days. And so that contributes to a major problem. If people can't even agree on the facts, how can they have discussions about the nuance of those facts that things that can't be factually proven if they can't even agree on what the facts are? Well,
I think there's a lot of reasons for that. First of all, look at major journalism. You got CNN, Fox. They're both bought out by both sides of the party. I think the Democratic Party controls like 80% of media, something crazy like that. But either way, I mean, the other 20% has an agenda too. Yeah. There's not really any unbiased media out there. And I think even with the divisive nature now of this country, people are scared to shoot down the middle. They want to pander towards one side or the other. Or they want to.
I understand what you're saying, but to me, I don't think it's as much that they're scared as it is that if they go one side or the other, they know that they're more likely to get engagement, both good and bad.
That's probably true.
So they know that regardless if the down the middle opinion might be the most true, they know that they need to go one way or the other because it's going to incite engagement. And that's what all these companies thrive off of. That's all that they survive off of is engagement, online engagement, social media engagement. That's all they need because that's how they sell advertising dollars. And what makes this world go round? Dollars. So we're at a place where these companies need to sell advertising, so they do what they can to get engagement, and that's putting these scandalous pieces out both one way or the other, get people mad, get them excited, whatever. They don't care. It's no skin off their nose. They're able to sell advertising. So I think we're in this doom cycle of these large companies, picking one way or another because they know it's going to get engagement, and like we're just all having to deal with that and put up with this BS, made up stuff on both sides. There's so much misinformation that's out there. It's insane.
But what has happened? Like, why is that the case? Because why have so many journalists been bought out? Why is there no? Because even you could say in the
money,
1980s,
money.
I agree. That's what I'm saying. In the 80s and 70s, people didn't care. They had a bottom line.
Didn't care?
Well,
there was
a
more
lot
independent newspapers at the time.
But why?
Because it was a regional thing. There wasn't the internet.
Why has there been
stuff wasn't circulated?
Why has there been less? Like, when did we become such a greedy society that we cared more about
greedy.
money than the truth? But yeah, that's what I'm saying. Before, there was still some people out there who I think there's some businesses that would rather have their ethics than to make as much money as possible.
I'd say after the 80s, man. I feel like in the 80s was when businesses really started becoming the most ruthless and cutthroat.
Why? Because
Profits?
the rest of them were bought out, pushed aside.
Yeah,
or they could just buy more and more advertisements to squeeze out the rest. I don't understand.
What do you mean?
Were the other businesses that were ruthless and didn't care about the truth, did they get so big that they made it impossible for the truth-telling businesses to even stay afloat?
Yeah, I'd say that's pretty much what happened. The people weren't interested in the truth; they were interested in the interesting stories.
Learn to swim, man. This whole fucking world can come crash and burn, dude. And you know what?
But here's the problem: this
might be the fucking card that we deserve.
The card that we deserve, us as people, we've done this to ourselves.
100,000,000,000%.
Yeah, I mean,
pieces of shit.
People have done this for sure, but like a small percentage of the people contribute to the majority of what has gone on in the last 50 years.
I'd say the majority of people are for themselves.
Yeah. Okay,
and that's why
probably so.
That's why we're in this boat.
And that's the world we've been sold also. Like,
well, you don't have to buy everything you're sold.
Nope. But we sure have gotten good at psychology and figuring out how to sell things to people without them even know that they're being sold anything.
Yeah, imagine if you could just use that for some greater good, right? Imagine if people's first thought wasn't, what does that do for me?
Imagine all the people. It's
true. I feel like 95% of people I meet wouldn't do something if there wasn't anything for them in it.
Oh, no. Dude, I agree 100%. Those are I'm trying to think. I just had an example of this the other day. Gosh, I can't remember the exact example. But, where somebody does something nice or whatever, and they're like, oh, no problem. But then, a week or two down the road, they're like, hey, can you help me do this thing? And it's like, actually, I can't. I'm just, I'm really busy today. I got the kids. I got to get them to practice, whatever. And they're like, well, don't worry. Well, maybe I just won't be able to help you next time. You need help doing whatever that thing is that I helped you do. Like, there's all kinds of people like that in this world that take inventory every single time they do something that they think they're doing something nice for somebody. It doesn't even actually have to be something nice. They just have to think that, I'm doing this nice thing for this person, so they're going to help me down the road. There's so many people that think that, and it's messed up.
Even if it's not for like a monetary gain, there's a lot of guys that try to court girls, so they'll be honest and do a bunch of nice things for them, this and that, and when then they go to make a move, the girl's not interested, and then it's, well, I've done this and I've done that, and I've, complimenting you, all that. It's kind of in the same line.
I had dinner with your parents.
Yeah. Well, I don't dinner with your parents. That you might think that you're more than friends at that point, right?
Well, that's what I'm.
Hey, I'm talking
just
about
because
like
you're more than friends doesn't mean you're going to get the old rub and tug.
No, I'm not even saying that. Though.
You're not going to get the whole
hot. And that's another girl that I can't stand.
And that's another thing.
That is just the fact that we made a girl famous for saying that. And I know this is a couple weeks past. It was old the minute it started.
It's the comedic timing of it. Everybody.
But yeah, I think everybody's kind of in agreement now that it's gotten old. And it's run its course.
I think.
But it should have never got big. It was fucking stupid.
But you could say that about so many different things in the internet.
This episode
got big.
I sound so cynical, and Man Who Yells at Clouds this episode.
Get off my grass, kids.
Damn, if this episode just isn't covering everything that we as a society, I'm included. I'm sure I'm part of the problem in a lot of ways.
Yeah, dude.
But
fucking figure it out.
I mean, gosh. We made this girl famous for saying she's going to spit on a dick.
Well, yeah.
But why should I be surprised?
Nobody said you had to be surprised.
I mean,
it's this is the world we live in. It's true.
After,
hey,
I just
maybe
think that after,
maybe you should just go. I know you like your nature. Get out, go for a walk. Let's forget about the whole world online for a while, and then somebody.
Last week was such a fun episode.
What happened? Oh yeah, that's right. Our former president was almost assassinated. That's what happened. And what else happened?
You said former, and I said and next.
Oh, could be.
Look at that way.
I read something today that actually said that recent polls show that he's slipping in the votes.
I saw that as well.
So who knows, dude? And that's also my point, that like so many news articles and things could be bombarded at you that have no legitimacy to them. Numbers can be spun in all sorts of different ways. We were talking about Major League Baseball numbers a few weeks ago. You were giving me it must be growing for this and that. But we also left out the fact that the numbers for viewers of the World Series has declined for the last 4 years. So, numbers can show whatever story. Yep, that is true.
And I think those numbers that I was reading were talking about monetary.
Well, you don't think viewers watching the World Series for the last 4 years is going to lead to monetary differences?
I think it's definitely a regional sport, which we both agreed upon. Like, it's big in each region that it's in.
I digress. The whole point I was bringing up is that numbers can be construed to, agree with whatever narrative you want. Yeah. So people like to act like numbers are the end all be all, when in fact you can really manipulate numbers and statistics to paint that picture you're trying to paint, So I don't buy any of those. It's hard to, I think that is a big crux of the problem too now, right? Like, we're talking about misinformation that circulates online and people being able to spin things any way they want. Well, now a contributing factor going forward is the inability to even look at a picture or a video and know the authenticity of that, right? It's so easily manipulated, pictures and videos. So the only way to have any authenticity and can believe anything is you have to see it in person, right? I guess, because you can't trust audio, video, anything you see online. It's hard to know if it's real or not. So you have to take it with a grain of salt. You just have to, And our parents were telling that from the beginning of the internet days, right? Don't believe everything you see on the internet. Somewhere along the line, that all changed, and everybody believes everything they see on the internet. So what the hell?
Seems like a lot of adults forgot that message, huh?
I swear.
But you know what is questionably real and not real?
What's that, Dave?
The synopsises that are wrote on the Sit, Talk, and Listen episodes of the week.
Yeah, so thanks AI for that one.
Last week, I think we need a shift here from serious to a lighter note.
Back to our normal nitwittery.
Yeah, and gosh damn it, I hope we don't have to get that serious, but I don't know. We'll see. But last week's episode, which had a lot of rave reviews from people messaging me,
big fans.
They loved your story. They were with you. They were with you in a lot of it. I think there was. Before we read this, did we want to read any YouTube comments that were made to you?
Oh, no. Read the summary first. We gotta. Okay. People need to know what the episode was about.
July 8th. Hillbilly Road Rage. Welcome back to another weekly episode of Sit, Talk, and Listen. We hope everyone had a fantastic 4th of July weekend filled with fireworks and fun. On today's show, we have a lot to catch up on. Well, mild start. First off, let's talk about our weekend adventures. Some of us hit the golf course and enjoyed the sunny weather, while Payroll managed to take home first place in a cornhole tournament. Congrats, Payroll! Did you write that in?
No, I didn't write none of this in. I feed it to the chat GDP. No, chat GPT.
Yeah.
Woo!
However, the ride home wasn't all smooth sailing as we got tangled up in some hillbilly road rage. How do you deal with those crazy drivers out there? Well, I feel like I wish there was a lot more there.
A lot more juice on that description.
Yes.
No, hey. I didn't ask it to be mildly humorous this week, so
That's a mistake.
okay, I will make sure to add
Switching gears, the Cardinals are finally showing some promise on the baseball field, and we can't wait to dive into their recent successes. Next, we had a blast.
We might have dipped our toe in the water on the Cardinals. I
Yeah,
wouldn't say that we dived in.
Yeah,
dove in?
We came dove. We dove in. Dove in. Next, we had a blast reading and reacting to an AI-generated summary of our podcast. It was hilariously accurate and gave us a good laugh.
About which one?
It said next we had a blast reading and reacting to an AI-generated summary of our podcast. It was hilariously accurate and gave us a good laugh. Did you tell it to write that?
I mean, I told it that we reacted to...
We also revisited stories about past coworkers, pondered over Celine Dion's vocal struggles, and discussed the importance of recognizing and overcoming negative mindsets. This is so straightforward. Like, this is pretty accurate of what we discussed.
Like I said, man, I just gave it the
need
bullet
the
points.
humor.
Yeah, I gotta tell it to make it humorous.
Now, let's lighten the mood a bit. When was the last time you went to a carnival? Do you think of being a carnival worker as the most unattractive job out there? We'd love to hear your thoughts. Yeah, we didn't get any thoughts on that.
Which I'm surprised. I thought for sure we would get a sexy carny in this week. I guess did you not hear from any sexy
I stand by
carnies?
that. I forgot that we talked about that. It is. Like, there's no... Please.
But
Brendan
again,
and people comment...
But again, we didn't get any clarification when we say most unattractive job. Is it a job that you think of and you're like, oh, people that do that job are unattractive, or do you hear that job and you're like, oh, that's an unattractive job? Like, how are we defining it as? You know what I'm saying?
I'm not saying like, oh, that's not an attractive. I'm talking about the people working.
Okay, so you're saying that people that are carnies
are not
tend
attractive.
to lead more unattractive than any other job.
Yes.
Like if you're just thinking of a job.
Yes.
Okay,
No. I'm not.
okay.
Were you thinking opposite?
No, I was thinking of if you just think of a job and you're
there
like,
can be
oh, that's an unattractive
That's why I was
job.
saying last week there can be a hot trash driver picker-upper.
But you're like, oh, the job is what it is. But with carny,
Well,
you just think
good,
that carnies tend to lead the most unattractive. Like
they're ugly.
ugly.
Yeah. In my mind, carnies per capita
Ugly.
are the ugliest. Now, I will finish this, even though I'm a little disappointed not that humorous, but
No, yeah.
in exciting news, we're in talks with ChatGPT to sponsor our show. Fingers crossed that comes through. We'll also touch on NBA contract negotiations and compare them to the earnings of past professional athletes. And for our hockey fans, we'll dive into some NHL slang. Lastly, we'll discuss fun activities like escape rooms and mini golf, perfect for summer hangouts with friends and family.
No talk of what you used as a mini golf club.
That was commented a few times by people, caught people off guard.
Hey, I like to keep people on their toes.
Thanks for tuning in, and as always, we appreciate the listeners.
See, Bill, we thanked you right there.
I do still want to keep the segment up, but we got to get back to the funny.
Okay, I'll prompt it to be humorous.
Told
Mildly humorous.
Which is kind of scary. Now that I'm seeing that side of it, I mean, that was pretty verbatim.
Mm-hmm. I mean, that's the exact.
Tooted their own horn a little bit, talking about how accurate the fucking description was last week. That clearly wasn't the case.
But you know what? It said that we're in talks with ChatGPT
Yeah.
It's preliminary talks. They don't know that we're having these talks with them yet, but we are having the talks. We just need them to answer. Indeed. Yeah, they'd be a good sponsor too. Indeed. Need a job? Hit up Indeed. See? I just read copy right there. What's up, guys? Send us money. Is that how that goes?
Yeah, I don't know.
You think if we just start reading advertisements for random businesses that they'll be like, oh, yeah, we like these guys.
No, they want to see our downloads.
Okay.
They want to see our downloads. Am I not close enough to the mic this episode? I don't know what's happening.
Yeah, you definitely want to be centered. You want to, you can move to the side.
It's also probably because I don't have my earphone on both. But gosh, what an intense...
Well, hey, look, we don't decide on what the topics should be. We just decide that they need to be talked about because these are the hot button issues week by week that the people want to hear about. So this week, unfortunately, we had a very historical moment happen, an assassination attempt.
Do you think this still is an historical moment in the grand scheme of things?
Yes. I don't understand. That's what I'm saying is the fact that news like this has been so minimized that people have to ask, is an assassination attempt going to be considered a historical moment?
No, but I'm not. I'm just saying, like, it won't be talked about like as much as the actual successful assassination attempts. Like, can you remember the last Ronald Reagan was shot at? And like, do we talk about that like it was a significant moment in history? No.
It's marked in history books.
It's marked enough that I knew it, yeah. But what I'm saying is...
what I'm saying is that if you think that way, and other people, and not just you because you've brought it up and you prefaced it like this, is the way that a lot of people are framed to think nowadays is major news like that just slips on by. They're like, well, just another day. Because people are so inundated with information and news every day that they don't... When big things happen, we're so callous and we're so programmed to just let it bounce off because we've just been smashed over the head with breaking news every day, everything is the end of the world. So when something major actually does happen, it gets lost in the shuffle of everything else, and I think that's messed up personally.
Yeah, I do agree with a lot of that. I think that we are pretty callous to big, major events, and I think that we also prop up because major events going back to that. Why was Hawk Tuah Girl just as popular and as talked about as this?
Meme culture, brother. We're in a meme society.
I mean, we still are propping things up, and things still are getting their 2 weeks and 3 week runs, but it's not the thing that should be.
It's stuff that people can make their little jokes at and have their little memes and share it and get that quick little laugh. Just get that little quick laugh, and they're like, "Ooh, look at me! I got people online that think I'm funny."
It wasn't even funny. That girl's not funny. I know that is very blanket. Comedy is subjective. I get it. But I mean, come on.
And so that's what anything, and that like the Hawk Tuah Girl was different.
I mean,
from major news, they take something like the president being shot at, and literally within 30 minutes of it happening is like a meme going around of Trump with the fist up, and then the glasses coming down on him, and it was like Mini Men from 50 Cent was playing. So it's like, what happens 30 minutes after that? We make a meme of it, and people are like, hell yeah. And now that's what gets circulated, nothing, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's why, I don't know, man. That's just why it is what it is, because everything's got to be a joke. Everybody's got to have their little spin on the situation. It's disheartening. So maybe we have the Olympics to look forward to. Go United States. Woo!
Yeah, please, gosh. I really hope the next week can be lighthearted. And I personally prefer the lighthearted.
Yeah, hey, look, episodes. Brother, I'm just here to talk about whatever gets brought to the table.
Because
this week I didn't have a platter of things that I was bringing to the table. So I just took the ball as the ball was passed off, and I ran with it, and I'm trying to, pass it back and forth here as I can. So if you want to have a lighter discussion, serve me up a little bit of a different platter.
I'm not saying it like that. Like, I feel like it's got to be something we do talk about. I'm just saying that I hope there's no drastic events that.
Well, we got an election coming up. There's guaranteed to be drastic events.
Yeah, unfortunately, it shouldn't have to be that way. But
nope. It shouldn't. But here we are. We're too deep in it now, brother.
Oh, my gosh.
We're riding the storm out.
Tune in next week. We're going to do a deep
Waiting
dive
for
into
the
Epstein
fallout.
Island and go list by list on the names mentioned and what we think about each person's name and their involvement.
All right. Sounds like you're doing some research.
Lots of research will be done this time. This time next week, I'll know the ins and outs. 27 pages, front and back, like Rachel's letter to Ross.
There you go. Yeah. Hey, good. Glad. Great that you're going to do that because I will not be doing that research.
No, and I get it. Like, I think we kind of wanted to go. It's funny because the irony of starting this podcast, I think we kind of wanted to go in talking about like serious psychological, like.
Yeah. Just like why things are the way they are, why people do what they do, why we've changed in the way that we act, and what I think that's one of the things that we find interesting is what are the reasons behind things, like why, there's always there's a nucleus to everything, right? Things just don't start overnight; they just don't appear from nothing. There needs to be that first pendulum swing of actions. So I think that was what we started this podcast and originally, about was we like to discuss, origins of things and why and the why of things. So, I'd like to be able to, keep it a little bit more lighthearted, but I also don't want to be the guy that's coming on here making jokes about an attempted assassination. So there's that tiptoe of the line, right? Like that we walking in that sense. So like we're gonna talk about something.
Oh yeah, no, I think that we talk. Like I agree with you. Like if we're gonna talk about something, I'm not gonna. Like this was a matter. I feel like
And I'll work in a little jokey joke as I see fit, but I didn't see that the softball never came to me to take a swing and work in a little jokey joke.
I mean, I kind of did when I said if you're within earshot of this podcast. Did you catch that?
I wasn't listening.
Dang, that was brilliant radio.
Yes, earshot. What did he say?
Yeah,
I'm a fan.
Damn it, dude! You didn't catch that.
No. I don't know what I was doing. I wasn't paying.
What I pay my riders for?
Hey, we're gonna have to try. That was too good of a joke. It slid right on past me.
So who's he? So what's he? So.
So what else we got going on?
I mean, like you said,
celebrity deaths.
Is there?
I mean, yeah.
Richard Simmons died.
Yeah, he was one of the three. I've said this for years. We're only going to get more and more celebrity, quote unquote, deaths as the years go by.
More celebrities have been created.
Right. So I don't know. They weren't. Richard Simmons, he did great. There was that lady that talked about sex on radio shows. That old lady,
Howard Stern.
Yeah, that was it. No, Howard Stern's not dead.
No, I know. I was just.
So there was people that of note, people that other folks know their names and remembered from their time of celebrityism.
I know who you're talking about, but gosh,
I can't remember her name. And I got this thing.
She was old 20 years ago.
Yeah, brother, that's how I feel about a lot of people. Like Steve Martin, he feels like he's been old for a long time.
The white hair kind of.
And then same way with what's his face, the producer, Blazing Saddles guy,
Mel Brooks.
Mel Brooks. Yeah, he's been old for a long time.
Is Mel Brooks alive?
Yeah, Mel Brooks. He's like he's 90 something.
Has to be.
It's also what's the other guy? Dick Van Dyke. He's like 98, 99, and he was old for a long time too. Yeah, dude. People like that. Respect. Who is that looking up? Tony, look it up. Who?
You're looking up Mel Brooks' age.
That's right. Tony, he's letting me down. He's also 98 years old. So Mel Brooks, Dick Van Dyke, kicking it old school.
Yeah. So anyways,
you said past that guy.
No, I'm just saying that. I mean, celebrity deaths is like.
Yeah, it's gonna.
Everyone
it happens,
dies, right?
Everybody dies. Everybody poops. Everybody dies.
Yeah. So
Sometimes you poop after you die. So
if we just got on here every week and talked about
celebrity deaths, we could just do a whole show about that. Probably there's enough.
It's got to be like, first of all, either somebody especially of historical significance, pop cultural significance, or like a crazy death.
Yeah, I would agree.
Any big alives? Any huge births? Nope.
I don't know.
Moving on. I was just trying to cover the all ends of the spectrum here.
I'm sure somebody had a kid that was important, I guess.
That kid could be the star of a movie called Babies I Don't Care About. Oh, man.
Don't think I don't know what you're doing.
Wasn't that Will Ferrell on The Office talking about CC?
Dude, underrated couple episodes there. The Will Ferrell in The Office.
Will Ferrell monster. Yeah, man. But I don't know. I think
where do we go from here?
I don't think we have to. I don't think we have to force anything. I mean, it took a lot out of me mentally, really, to go over all of that. It's sad, dude.
Well, lucky episode 13, forever known as the post-Trump assassination attempt episode.
Yeah, still more entertaining than that fucking solar eclipse.
Damn. Come on, dog. That was a good episode, probably.
Not the assassination attempt, but just this episode.
You think this episode's worse or better than the solar eclipse one?
You think it's a bad episode?
What? I think we had to wait a while to start laughing because it's not funny that people are trying to shoot at him, but what are you going to do? We got to talk about it because that shit happened.
Yeah, no, but I mean, episode quality, like, I don't know. I feel like a lot was taken out of me.
What we're gonna do now is we're gonna do a real-time reaction to what we've already recorded without listening back to what we recorded. We're just gonna react, tell you how we feel about the episode.
Yeah, and we're gonna give a gauge. But I will say this: if every episode was the best episode, then you couldn't do best ofs and stuff. I mean, clearly,
Yeah.
But yeah. Anyways,
so we talked about the national anthem girl. We talked about apologies, and we talked about Tenacious D apologizing, and then they having Jack Black saying they're going to cancel the tour, the rest of the tour, taking a little break from the public eye. Probably the smartest. I'm sure we'll hear from Tenacious D after the election cycle is over. And then what else has happened?
Yeah, I mean, on a personal level,
the AL beats the NL in the All-Star Game for the 10th time in the last 12 years. NL can't ever seem to get their shit together. Thank God it doesn't matter for anything.
It used to.
It sure did.
Shohei, though, hit a moonshot 3-0. It's fun to watch him play baseball. I wish he wasn't on the West Coast.
Shouts out to Shohei.
It's fun. It's fun. I wish we got to watch more West Coast baseball.
You think we could get him on the pod? Probably not.
I thought you were going to say on the Cardinals. We couldn't even get him on the Cardinals.
Well, that's more difficult than getting him on the podcast. What's more difficult?
What are we going to talk to Shohei Ohtani about? I would.
Dingers?
I mean.
Living in America.
I would love to do a baseball podcast.
Just an episode here or there.
Oh, me? I would love to do a baseball podcast.
Well, that's great. As we know, baseball is declining. And
yeah, say that to the several hundred thousands that are following multiple baseball YouTube channels.
Okay.
I will not take this baseball slander on a podcast that I'm the co-host of. You guys all keep messaging in because soccer sucks and you fail to acknowledge that. You sit there for 90 minutes to watch, 2 shots go over the goal and the whole crowd goes, ooh, ah.
So I guess you didn't tune in for...
3rd episode in a row, I will say MLS sucks.
Well, I'm not...
the USA soccer sucks. We suck unless you're the women's national team. Sorry.
Unless you're the women's.
You're not included in this. Women's national team, historically good. I watch that. Fun. We usually score more than 1 goal. Men, what do we just... 0 goals? Yeah, we suck.
So we didn't watch Copa America Championship?
Copa America seemed cool. I think the final was
Messi.
1-0. Colombia lost to Argentina.
Yeah, it was not... maybe it was. That was 1-0. England and Spain. Did you watch that one?
What was that 2-1?
The Euros. That was 2-1.
2-1.
So we're talking the highest level of international soccer.
That's fun. No, I didn't watch.
So you watched some baseball game instead? No, there wasn't. No, you watched baseball. Maybe.
And that's the thing, though. That's the thing right there. Baseball, there's the World Series, right? We can agree it's the biggest.
Yeah. For us,
well, the baseball classic's pretty huge too for each country. But
just look at. I'm just saying.
You can say that internationally, the world.
You're not going to have people bombarding the stadium, rushing the gate, sneaking in during the World Series. You just don't see it. But these international soccer games, you see fanatics. You see people getting in fights over these teams.
That's cool. There's a lot of things that I think we've discussed this episode that just because you're a fanatic of something doesn't mean it's any more interesting.
What?
And I will continue to beat this drum.
I hear your heart.
But I also can acknowledge if you think baseball is boring, like I get it.
Well, I don't think it's boring.
But I'm saying that I can acknowledge that. So and that's a sport I love. So if you soccer fans that want to cry and throw shade at me, you can't admit that your sport sometimes is a little lack of action, and the crowd has to carry it for the atmosphere. The crowd is carrying the games a lot of times. Let's be honest.
Yeah, I hear you. Look.
Would you say there's truth in that?
There's truth in that. There is truth in that. And at the end of the day, I'm not here to beat the soccer drum or the baseball drum. Really, I'm just here to beat the let's get Xavier fired up drum. So
I do support USA women's soccer, and I do enjoy watching that.
Okay.
And yeah, there is probably truth to, if USA was better at soccer and there's a better soccer product that I grew up with, yeah, it'd be a whole different story. But I didn't grow up in that world. So sue me. And I also don't knock the Americans that have gotten super involved into European soccer or into any of the other soccer leagues out there. That's awesome. I am so happy that you find yourself enjoying something so harmless as that. It's fun. Yeah. It is super fun to be a giant sports fan. Most of the time harmless. Should be harmless.
Should be.
I completely support that. I'm not knocking soccer fans by any means. Like, I encourage you to find something that you love and can get behind that gives purpose and something that you look forward to doing and cheering. By God, I agree. I love that. Everybody, so if I made it seem like I believed anything else, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, no, I was just agreeing. Everybody should find something that they love and then get behind that thing that they love and thrust.
Yeah. So, but what I will say is MLS.
Yeah.
Again, I'll say it again. Like,
Major League Soccer.
You do well. You're looking to get out of there. Go to Europe. Get paid.
If you're a young player.
An astronomical amount. Come back home at 38, 39. Get paraded around. Get paid to try to bring eyes to a sport that will not get big enough to stop the cycle from happening.
Not big enough to stop the cycle from of like people leaving and then coming back.
You'll go to Europe.
I see.
America will pay you a lot of amounts to try to get eyes. Oh, look at this huge star we have in the MLS. Now, people, will you watch more? Yeah, maybe we'll tune in to watch Messi, but not enough that people are going to stop leaving the MLS to go to Europe. It will not happen.
Oh,
and that's soccer talk once again.
Only time will tell.
It's the doldrums of sports right now. Golly.
Yeah. July. Well, so all right, let's have a little fun here. July might be the worst sports month every year,
especially when there's no Summer Olympics.
Is
that starting in August or late July? Right?
I think it technically is late July. It's like July 27th, 28th, something like that. But what do you? So let's talk about the worst sports months first. July being one of them. We just talked about.
July's the worst. October is the best.
Okay, you're jumping way ahead here. I'm trying to have a conversation about the worst months. We say July. Let's think about others. Maybe it's tough because outside of like the Super Bowl and regular season hockey and basketball, February can be a little slow. What?
There's a lot going on in February.
But like,
I
compared
guess not
to
a lot, 'cause you
what do you
just have
think? What, maybe January would be less exciting because it's like this playoff football. Don't get me wrong, playoff football is outstanding, but outside of that, it's just regular season and other stuff. I'm just trying to think of what's the second least. What's outside of July? What's the next month? That's
Well, June crowns 2 of the major 4 American sports champions.
Yeah, and that's big. You can't think of July 26th is the start of the Olympics for those.
August might be up there because it's just regular season baseball and preseason football.
Yeah.
Now September,
July and August are rough.
If we go by month, July, bad.
Yeah.
Probably the worst.
August, rough. Getting better. You can
September,
see the horizon.
though?
September.
Yeah. Baseball, regular season, get into the nitty gritty, and
Yep.
then that sweet kickoff, baby.
We do love football in America.
Now the next month, I think, is arguably top.
October.
You have the start of the NBA and the NHL. MLB is in its playoffs, World Series usually.
Yeah.
And then football getting into the midst of it.
October is I think without a doubt the top sports month.
And
Just
October
'cause of
Sunday, dude, sometimes there can be a lot.
Yeah, just because of the variety, like you get the options of a lot of different sports, plus you get like the championship aspect of baseball that time of year. So but October has got to be one of the top months. I guess maybe April. It's like you have baseball starting, and maybe the Masters is. I guess the Masters is pretty sweet.
You get the NFL draft.
Yeah, but we're just trying to think.
But you're in the midst of, and you're about to get into the basketball and hockey playoffs.
Oh, yeah. In April, I guess you got the stretch run for those. Well, yeah. Nowadays, it's May is like the stretch run for
Playoffs.
hockey.
For those two.
Well, yeah.
And basketball.
Yeah.
I mean, basketball's pretty fucking big these days.
So, but still, if we're looking at the third, if you have July and August as your 2 least, entertaining sports months, do you think April could be 3rd, 4th? I mean, what else outside of?
Yeah, I mean, February, like you said, if it didn't have the Super Bowl, that carries so much weight in America, dude.
Yeah, Super Bowl's a big deal. But after the Super Bowl, it's rough for a couple weeks there.
It can't be April because that has all the I don't know. I mean, we have a lot of good. I mean, really, July and August separate like are far worse looking at it than any other.
Yeah. So maybe we'll just we'll put those two months in a box of their own. Like shit for sports months, July and August. That's why I'm going on vacation this month. No, JK. No, I'm going on vacation, but it's not because of the boring sports month.
Yeah. But,
wouldn't that be nice if I had to time my vacations around shitty sports?
I mean, it's a good time to get married.
What, it is now? Yeah. I guess. Hot as hell. There was a wedding going on at Forest Park in the Jewel Box.
That's awesome.
When we were just taking a walk throughout this weekend, we were going around Forest Park, #1 park in the country. Not even my opinion. Voted on by a lot of people. Better than Central Park.
And
it's also bigger than Central Park.
Voted on by a lot of people.
Yeah, look it up, Jack. I like that's also one of my favorite things to do.
Research on this and we'll comment. But
that's one of my favorite things to do is make a statement, and then when somebody questions you on that statement, you say, "Yeah, look it up, Jack." You don't have to. Hey, look. You're asking me for facts. I'm not here to give you facts. I'm here to tell you to do you got to learn the facts.
I am good. I'm going to do the research on that.
But I will say it is bigger in size than Central Park, making it the biggest park in an urban city in this urban environment by square mileage. It's bigger. And I just think that there's more to do. You got free zoo, free museums. So I'm a living of Forest Park, and I'm here to tell everybody it's probably the best park in America, better than Central Park. Come at me, New York. I'll call that a whole city.
I really don't have.
You don't want to jump on my bandwagon of calling out a whole city?
I know like 2 parks. Rucker Park, but that's a basketball court. I don't know parks. I like Forest Park.
Get
but
out
I'd be
and
naive
see
to think
some
that
parks.
it's...
You're just saying that because it's our hometown. You think that we can't have something that's the best here.
I'm not saying that.
Well, yeah, you are. You said, I'm not going to be naive. So you think it's just automatically naive to think because we're here that you couldn't possibly be the best because we're here.
But it's like everybody having world's best dad mugs. Like, what are the odds that you're actually the world's best dad? Pretty low. Pretty low. Now, Forest Park, great park, though, and it was a park that held a World's Fair. That was a pretty significant World's Fair, so I will give it that. It has a big, awesome, free zoo inside of it, so yeah, there's a lot of things going for Forest
Art
Park.
museum,
I'm
history
not
museum.
questioning that it couldn't be one of the best parks in America, but I'd have to do some research and see this poll, like, before I just go making statements. Like,
I'm just saying.
I don't even know if Central Park, I heard, is pretty small.
People like to consider it big and mighty.
Well,
I'm just here to put people in their place and let them know Central Park isn't as big as Forest Park. And in my opinion, we got better attractions at our park. So therefore,
but you have to go to
better
both parks before you make that kind of statement.
Whoa, you think that we live in a society where you actually have to experience things before you can make a judgment?
Definitely no, we don't.
Exactly. No. So let me make my statements.
Yeah. Fair enough. Forest Park.
You heard it here.
Best park.
Xavier agrees.
So, title of the episode, Forest Park.
Yeah, there you go.
Forest Park lovers.
Forest Park is for lovers.
There it is. And on that note, this has been episode 13.
You gonna end it?